we're going to wait a little bit for people to trickle in because I know you guys are coming from the last session. Thank you guys for staying on. Quick intros here. I have Mike, co-founder of Canusa Logistics, a longtime partner of ShipBob, a trusted partner of ShipBob, our expert for expanding into Canada. And that's exactly what he is going to speak about today. He's going to speak about expanding into Canada, what to expect, timelines like that, but making it very simple. And I also realized we don't have a lot of people in the video yet. There's only 6 people. So maybe Mike will wait like another 30 seconds or something. I don't know where all these people, maybe they took a break to go to the restroom. But if you have any questions in the sessions tab, you can, in the sessions chat, you can leave some questions. Even if they're detailed, the Canusa team can always connect with you after the fact. But I think we've left enough time. So with that, I'll kick it over to Mike to talk about Canada.
Oh, thanks, Francesca. Where is the button to share my screen?
Next to the leave stage to the left, like left of the microphone, or sorry, it's to the right of the camera. It's an arrow up in a box.
Oh, okay.
I know they look different on every screen. So thanks everyone for bearing with us. And I think people just jumped on too. So I'll read you the intro because there's only 6 of us on before. Here with Mike from Canusa, co-founder of Canusa Logistics, longtime partner, trusted partner of ShipBob, and he's going to talk about expanding into Canada. So I'll kick it over to him. Thanks everyone for hanging on.
Thanks, Francesca. Can you see the slide okay?
We cannot actually.
Oh, you can. Okay. Let me. Okay. I'm having a little difficulty here. Now, is that?
We cannot see it
No.
still. Are you using the box with the arrow going up next to the camera box?
Okay, let me, so I've got a box that came on. I can't, let me see if.
Yeah, once you click, you have to click which tab you want to, show.
So I have it in a PowerPoint. The screen, Let me see. Now, does it come up?
Yes, but put it into presentation mode. Maybe that is the presentation mode.
Okay. Where do I
would just leave it at that because we already cut in. We can see the screen. We're good, Mike.
Alrighty. Thank you, and welcome everybody. Welcome to Canada. If you've been introduced to us, if you've been introduced to Canusa Logistics, it's because that you've had success in e-commerce and you're looking to expand into Canada. And ShipBob has given you probably the most efficient solution to service the Canadian market and be successful in Canada. And that's to put your inventory in Canada. And just to give you a little bit of background, we're what I call a boutique customs broker. We've been in business 30 years. We're located in Fort Erie, Ontario, right on the Canada-US border across from Buffalo, New York. And our niche in the marketplace has been to service foreign companies that want to enter Canada and service their clients on a delivered duty paid basis, which you've heard a lot about. And when it comes to e-commerce, it is e-commerce in Canada. To be successful in Canada, you have to have a delivered duty paid solution to get your goods to the customer's door, hassle-free for them. And putting your inventory in Canada is the best way to do it. So just to kind of give you time frames, when we're introduced to a potential customer of ShipBob that wants to do this, that wants to go forward, a lot of times they ask how quickly do we need to how long does this take to get the process going? So unless you're a nutraceutical or a product regulated by Health Canada, you can usually get going pretty quickly. The first thing we do in getting started is we open up a business account with Canada Revenue Agency. That gives the non-resident a business number, an account directly with the federal government, under which they can open additional accounts. If we apply today, we'll usually receive a positive response back within 72 hours from CRA. Once you have your business account open, you can start shipping. When the next step, once you have your business account, is to register for GST/HST, and I'll get into exactly what that is a little later. But it's goods and services tax. It's Canada's value-added tax. It applies to imported goods, and it'll be collected on all your sales to consumers in Canada. So as an entity, a foreign entity that is going to maintain inventory in Canada, you'll be required to register for GST. We take care of that application at the time that we apply for your business number. The activation of a GST account, however, might take as long as 6 months for CRA to actually activate that account. However, it'll be backdated. Registration is backdated to the date of application, and you'll be required to begin collecting GST right away on your business to consumer sales. So that's really all it takes to get started with the Canadian government. But the discussions that we generally have with the ShipBob customers to bring them up to date on your responsibilities, obligations, things that you need to know when dealing in Canada. We like to guide you through them, find out what it is that you do, find out what your current method of dealing with your imports and movement of goods, and how to bring solutions that work within your organization. So the things that we talk about are terms of sale, both in the way that you purchase your goods, if you're not manufacturing your own, if you're purchasing them, and if they're purchased and manufactured outside of North America, moving them into Canada. Terms of sale become very important. On the delivery to your customer side, terms of sale is very important, and that term of sale should be DDP, delivered duty paid. It's the way in the world of e-commerce to be most successful. The next thing that we talk about is the harmonized classification of goods. So the harmonized classification is a universal customs classification of goods, at least to the first 6-digit level. So for instance, whatever your harmonized classification is, importing goods into the United States, we use the same number coming into Canada up to the 6-digit level. Our duty rates might differ, but our classification numbers will be the same. Valuation of goods. So harmonized classification tells you what the duty rate is. Valuation is on what value is the duty based, and there are some things to consider when determining value for duty, and ways you can modify your supply chain to minimize the value and therefore minimize duty. Also, with inventory in Canada, you are required to register and collect and remit GST and HST, which I'll talk about later. And also, we have 4 provinces in Canada that have a provincial sales tax regime that you also need to be aware of. And I'll just speak a little bit about other regulatory agencies, namely in e-commerce. The two most common are Health Canada for supplements and drugs, and safe food license and registration for food products under the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So I'll just jump right in here. Terms of sale. So let me go right to the bottom. We've got DDP there. Seller delivers goods to buyer inclusive of all transportation and customs charges. That's you. So you're the seller. You've got your inventory in Canada. When the customer buys their product from you, it's going to be DDP, supplied from within Canada, arrives at their door, no extra charges. But on your purchase side, you'll want to take advantage of supply chain opportunities. to get your goods into the Canadian market. There's a couple of ways. Some U.S. companies that have their manufacturing offshore will move the goods into the United States, duty pay them into the domestic American inventory, and then supply the Canadian inventory from that supply. That's a relatively inefficient method of getting the product into Canada, because it adds unnecessary freight costs and customs brokerage costs, and also duties that may otherwise not factor into the value for duty. It also inflates the value for duty and requires you to pay whatever the duty rate is on a much higher rate. The best way, if you can make it happen, is to direct ship to Canada. And so your options, I mean, there's many options, there's many Incoterms, but the two that jump up are FOB. Let's say if your supplier is in China, one of the Chinese ports, an FOB port, so you can determine your cost from the port forward to the Canadian port and delivery to the ShipBob warehouse for inventory, or you can ask your vendor to give you a price to deliver to the Canadian port with paying freight and insurance to destination, excluding duties and taxes. And then you can compare the two. You can choose whichever one, pick the lowest price if you like. It really doesn't matter. But both of those represent a direct ship to the Canadian ShipBob warehouse, bypassing transshipment through the United States. The next thing is getting the harmonized classification right. So if your products are moving cross-border, you have the harmonized classification of your goods. It's important that a lot of effort go into determining the right classification, because it not only impacts the duty that you pay when importing goods, either into the United States or Canada or any country for that matter, but it also it also affects the eligibility for trade agreements. Under the trade agreements that Canada has negotiated with the United States, with Mexico, with South America, with the Asian trading countries under the CPA TPP agreement, and CETA, which is the Canada-European Free Trade Agreement, the Israel Free Trade Agreement. Canada has free trade agreements with virtually every country we deal with the exception of China. So in order to ensure that that your goods are eligible, you have to classify the goods under the harmonized classification system correctly, because only then can you determine the rule of origin that determines eligibility for those trade agreements. So not only important in determining the proper rate of duty, the right rate of duty, so that you can factor that into your pricing, but also to take advantage of free trade agreements, with which, if you're moving inventory into Canada, you will most likely be taking advantage of a trade agreement. So you can't get the rule right unless you have the harmonized classification right. We, of course, will work with you on that, and bring to your attention any sort of discrepancies that we might find. We'll ask you for the harmonized classification. We'll verify it. If we have any concerns, we'll bring them back to you. One of the resources that's available to you that is something that we use, and it's a very good system. It's the U.S. government cross-ruling system. Unlike Canada, the U.S. publishes all of the rulings that they make on relating to the import of goods, so that we can go online, we can go into the system and look up the rates of duty and the rationale for determining different harmonized classifications that have already been ruled on in certain instances, and bring those to you as a method of saying, this is the harmonized classification, this is the rationale behind it, and there's already a U.S. government ruling on it, so you can more or less take that to the bank, even when you're dealing with Canada Customs. Now, I'll just give you a little anecdote here. We were asked to. We were working with a company that was moving nutraceuticals sorry, it was a one of those hot and cold patch therapeutic items with a woven a woven sleeve and then a gel pack inside. And so this company was US based, and they had been importing these products for about 4 years now into the United States, and they were very successful. They had imported millions of dollars worth of these products in, and now they were coming to Canada. They had they were compliant with Health Canada regulations. They got their DNA number, and the one last question they had for us, they came to us and they said, we have our classification. We know, we just don't know what the corresponding Canadian classification is, or the Canadian duty rate to factor into our product. So they just asked me we'll give you the US number. You look up the Canadian number, you tell us what the duty rate is. That's all we really need to know, and we'll be good. So I said, fine. They sent it to me. And I looked it up. It was for a woven product. I went to the section of the tariff. I found the corresponding Canadian number, and I found that it was 18%. And I looked at the U.S. number that they were using to import those goods into the United States, and that rate of duty was 18% as well. Okay, but it didn't. That just looking at that didn't sit well with me. So I went into the U.S. government cross system and typed in heat cold pads, and it directed me several rulings on these products, identical products. It sent me to a different section of the tariff that was in the chemical section, and as a result of all these rulings directing us to the chemical section, the rate of duty went from 18%, which they'd been paying up to now importing into the United States, down to 3% coming into the US and 5% coming into Canada. So I was able to come back not only a cost savings going forward to reduce their overall spend with U.S. customs and Canadian customs, I was able to give them customs rulings for identical goods.
Okay, I don't know if it was
It's
just me.
good to place a lot of focus and make sure that you've got the right number, both so that you're paying the right rate of duty, so that nothing can come back to haunt you, and that you're taking full advantage and proper advantage of trade agreements. And
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
I hate to put the hook on you because
Yes.
you're getting to great anecdotal stories, but we have to hop to the next session.
Yes.
I would say if anyone has any questions, wants to hear more stories, more case studies about expanding to Canada, go to the booth for Canusa Logistics and then just post in there and they can schedule time with you. But thank you so much for your time, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and everyone will see you in the next session.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots more. Okay.
Bye, Mike.
Bye now. Thanks, Francesca.